Hello and welcome to the Micro Business Growth Club packed lunch sessions. I'm Wendy Garcars and this particular session is about delivering difficult messages. It can be really problematic doing this because they can occur at any time, they can occur at work, in private situations. But basically the way to deal with them is the same. There are some universal principles that will help you to deliver difficult messages and protect the relationship as you go along and get the best out of a difficult situation. And so I'm going to talk to you about how you do that. It's really based on three things. You need, when you're delivering a difficult message, to manage the expectations of all parties concerned, but you also need to hold those people to account for the outcome of that difficult message. It's also about giving good information and feedback to make sure that you're clear right from the outset. And there is an open door so that people can come back and recheck information or have queries answered. And it's also about dealing with any arising negativity and conflict, because delivering difficult messages, there is a likelihood that you'll have to deal with some of that. So the first bit is about managing expectation. It's really, really important that you do some preparation for this. So whatever the situation is, whatever the difficult message that you have to deliver, there will be people who will make assumptions about what that means for them, what it means generally, and that will be driven by their own agenda, so by their own position, by their own perspective, maybe what's at stake for them. So that process will happen whether you are delivering that message directly or whether this is a pre-prepared thing for a larger group. The starting point has to be, you need to tell them exactly what you need them to do and then hold them to account for the outcome. And the earlier you do this, the better, because the quicker you deliver accurate and clear information, the quicker they can then assimilate that and get their heads around it, what it means for them, the implications, and then decide on their actions. If it's complex, then you may need to leave the door open so that they can come back and just check on information or maybe get some clarification. But that open door needs to be two-way so that you can also give them feedback about their responses to the difficult message that you've given. It's quite possible that while you're managing those expectations, conflict will arise because people may not always like the message that's being delivered. So the idea is, where it does arise, you need to nip it in the bud. And if you have a situation where people are coming back to you constantly with that negative approach, constantly wanting to focus on the problems and the difficulties, then get them to do some of the thinking, get them out of that funk that they're in and get them to focus on trying to contribute to the solutions. So open it up and try and bring it back to them being positive about what they might do and how they might contribute to a solution. The clearer the expectations are that you set, the easier this process will be. And in a lot of cases, delivering a difficult message will involve some sort of change. So the first step in that process has to be justifying that change so that people understand, why are we having to do this and why now? From that, you can set the expected outcome. This is what we need to be delivering. This is where we need to be. And then get them involved, give them an opportunity to discuss that, to raise any questions, and actually to contribute to the solutions. At the end of that, you need to state the expected behaviours, actions and standards that you will apply from that difficult message, because if people haven't had that reiterated, they will just go off and make their own assumptions. So you really do need to be clear about what you want to see for them. And then if that's going to be monitored, if they're going to be accountable for making that change, then how will that monitoring take place? And again, keep it simple, but make it absolutely crystal clear what that will look like for them. During this process, you may have to give some constructive feedback. So if there's a change that has to be made and it's about them changing a habit or a behaviour or a process that they've always done or they've done for a long time, there may be some resistance to changing that. So the constructive feedback again follows a simple process. The moniker we use is SAID. We give the standard that we want the result to come up to. We detail the actions that are required to achieve that standard. We give the impact that has had or will have, and then the development to take you from A to B, what's needed or what's been achieved and whether that's hit the mark or not. Keeping it simple and clear like this means that you're less likely to head into murky waters where there is confusion or conflict. You may have people when you're dealing with difficult messages who are just generally negative. Some people are more likely to see the negative rather than the positive, and that can be a real drain, particularly if there's more than one person involved, because it can be quite energy sapping, and it also can be contagious. So you may want to divert attention, or they may want to divert attention from the real issues. So if you are experiencing a lot of negativity with dealing with difficult messages, then think about these things. Think about how you can encourage people to make decisions where they're able. So allow them to use their influence and power where it's appropriate, and give people a voice so that they can express their views and concerns. Once they feel as though they've been heard, some of that negativity will dissipate. You have to treat people as adults with fairness and consistency, and what's good for one has to be good for everyone. If you're going to listen to their moans and groans about what's wrong, then you have the right to expect them to offer some solutions about how to make it better, particularly if they're the ones on the front line directly delivering that result. So again, don't feel as though you have to pander to that negativity. Be clear about what you want, but take the emotion out of it, because it's the emotion that can escalate that to conflict. If you do experience conflict, then again there is a simple process to deal with it. It's not uncommon for conflict to arise when you're delivering difficult messages, because obviously you're telling people something that they don't want to hear. So again, a simple process of dealing with that is when conflict arises, acknowledge that it's happening and deal with it. And the quickest way to do that is nip it in the bud. Don't let it fester. Don't let it go on for any longer than necessary. As soon as you see conflict, acknowledge that it's conflict, and then at that process, halt whatever you're going through. So stop all communication, just to restore some calm and balance, and give yourself some breathing space. Once you've done that, establish the facts and separate out opinion and assumption, because conflict happens when people feel threatened or when people feel aggrieved, if they've been dealt with unfairly. So you need to go back to the facts and look at the facts of the matter, and then re-clarify the expectations of all parties so that again you're back onto common ground. You may still have conflict after that, so you might need to look for some compromises that parties can work with. It depends on the situation, but the key thing is if you keep both parties talking, if you keep everybody talking, then you stand a chance of having a solution. It's only when conflict creates that hostile standoff that it becomes really, really difficult to dislodge. So in summary, if you're having to deliver difficult messages, some key things to remember. Make sure you're prepared with the right information. Make it as clear and concise as possible, and don't muddy the waters. Keep it really simple. If you're delivering difficult messages, make sure you use a private area that's neutral. Don't do that in front of other people, and certainly try not to do it in an environment that may have some baggage for the person that you're trying to deliver the message to. Start by listening to them and creating a rapport, with some open questions, so you get them talking and you get them participating in a conversation. And if they have perceptions of the situation that differ from yours, explore those and try and find out what they are, so that again you can see where they're coming from, you can understand their perspective. You need to clarify the real picture and be honest about what it is that you don't know, because they may ask you things that you may not be privy to the information of, so be honest about that. And wherever possible, offer your help and support. That is really important when you're delivering a difficult message. The key thing about difficult messages is somebody has to deliver them, and if it's you can do that in a good way or you can do that in a bad way. And what we've set out here is some simple steps that you can follow to do that in the most empathetic way, but the most productive way too, so that you get the result that you want. We have the Micro Business Growth Club is an online business community that can offer help and support. If you are having to deliver difficult messages, then we can look at how you do that. Generally it's there to help business owners grow and prosper, and often have to deal with some of the more difficult situations. So you can contact us on any of these and we can help. Or just have a conversation about whether membership is good for you. Remember, the whole point about delivering difficult messages is be clear, be open, be honest, but be firm, and you hopefully will get the result that you're looking for. Thanks very much.